In the summer of 2012, poker's biggest names packed into Las Vegas, all chasing glory and millions in prize money. But what nobody saw coming was a 24-year-old unknown from Maryland stepping in and stealing the spotlight, not once, but twice. His path to that moment was anything but smooth. It's a story marked by addiction, near collapse, and an unbelievable fight for redemption that led to one of the wildest, most unlikely runs in poker history. This is the story of the kid who outplayed the pros for millions, twice in a single summer. Greg Merson's story starts in Maryland, where a 15-year-old kid first discovered poker at a kitchen table with his neighborhood friends. Back then, it wasn't about money or fame. It was just the pure rush of the game. He was a straight-A student, sharp and disciplined, and when he headed off to the University of Maryland, it seemed like everything in his life was falling perfectly into place. But by 17, things took a dark turn. Merson fell into cocaine use, a habit that followed him into college. He admitted later that he was using during classes, before exams, and even between lectures. The toll was brutal. 25 pounds lost, grades slipping, and health declining fast. Yet through it all, poker remained a constant. In 2007, during his third semester, Merson dropped out to chase poker full-time. But the game wasn't just a passion, it became his lifeline. At first, he used winnings to fund his addiction, but he soon realized his habit was draining his bankroll. That realization pushed him towards sobriety. Around that time, he connected with fellow players Tony Gregg and Christian Harder, moving into Gregg's house. They were all hungry, grinding online poker day and night, learning from each other and pushing one another to climb the ranks. For Merson, the move was life-changing. He stayed clean, poured everything into poker, and quickly became one of the most dedicated online players in the world. From 2007 to 2010, he played an incredible volume of hands, sometimes logging 80-hour weeks and juggling 24 tables at once. He achieved Supernova Elite status multiple times on PokerStars, proving he wasn't just talented, he was relentless. But addiction has a way of lurking in the background. After 4 years clean, he convinced himself he could handle just one time. That one choice spiraled into a relapse. By December 2011, during a trip to Las Vegas for a tournament, things nearly ended. Sharing a hotel room with Gregg and Harder, his friends came back to find him slumped upright in bed, unresponsive. Harder remembered the shock, thinking Merson was gone, before realizing he was still alive. For Merson, it was a terrifying brush with death. Shaken, he broke down, called his mother in tears, and made a drastic decision. He locked himself in his hotel room for 3 days, detoxing alone. The withdrawal hit hard, the sickness, the crushing depression, but it worked. For Merson, it was the rock-bottom moment he needed to start climbing back. Poker became his anchor again, but this time, he had support. Tony Gregg backed him financially, giving him the stability to rebuild without risking everything. At first, Merson focused on high-stakes cash games, but when those slowed down, he shifted toward tournaments. Just 6 months after locking himself away to detox, Greg Merson walked into the 2012 World Series of Poker. And this time, he wasn't just playing for money, he was playing for redemption. Merson's 2012 World Series of Poker run began with sparks of promise. He made a deep run in the $3,000 no-limit hold'em event, then narrowly missed a final table in the $2,500 four-handed. By that point, he had already paid back the money Tony Gregg had staked him. But instead of going solo, he chose to keep the backing deal alive. It was less about needing the money and more about keeping the pressure off, and that decision would change everything. Next up was the $10,000 six-handed no-limit hold'em, one of the most prestigious and toughest events of the entire summer. Nearly 500 players bought in, filling the prize pool with millions. For 3 days, Merson fought tooth and nail, surviving marathon sessions that stretched late into the night. By the time play was forced into an unscheduled fourth day, after an exhausting 13-hour day 3, only 2 men were left standing, Merson and seasoned pro Keith Lair. Their final showdown ended almost as quickly as it began. On just the second hand of the last day, Lair pushed all his chips in with ace-queen. Merson, sitting on king-9, called without hesitation. The board ran out 10-9-10 Queen-Jack, giving Merson a straight on the river. Just like that, he walked away with the bracelet and a staggering $1.13 million. But the real story wasn't just the prize, it was proof that he'd turned his life around. And the wildest part, this was only the start. Less than 2 weeks later, Merson was about to carve out an even bigger piece of poker history. You see, the 2012 World Series of Poker main event wasn't just big, it was massive. A staggering 6,598 players all had their eyes on poker's crown jewel, fighting for a prize pool north of $62 million. Greg Merson carved his way deep into the field, and when he knocked out Marc-André Ladouceur in 13th place, he found himself with more than 30 million chips and the all-important chip lead. It was the kind of position every poker player dreams of, a ticket to the November 9. But Merson wasn't the type to coast. He pushed hard, trying to knock out more players and stack even higher. In the process, he slipped down to 3rd place by the time Gael Bauman was eliminated on the final table bubble. Still, after 7 grueling days of play in July, he had survived the minefield. From thousands of players, only 9 remained, and Merson was right there in the mix with a real shot at poker immortality. The November 9 comes with a rare luxury: 3 full months to prepare. Some players spend it dissecting ESPN coverage of every opponent, looking for the tiniest tells. Merson did his fair share of studying, but his biggest focus was on himself. He reviewed his own footage, trying to spot habits he might give away under pressure. His philosophy was simple. If he sharpened his own game and kept momentum on his side, he'd be ready. What made it even more intense was the added storyline. Merson wasn't just chasing the main event title, he was also in the running for the 2012 WSOP Player of the Year. He already had a bracelet in a $10,000 event and a 5th place finish in another. But then Phil Hellmuth, the ultimate thorn in any poker player's side, won the WSOP Europe main event, suddenly putting the title in jeopardy. Now Merson had to do the unthinkable, win the main event itself. If he pulled it off, he'd be the first player ever to capture both honors in the same year. By the time October rolled around, poker's biggest stage was set a week earlier than usual because the US presidential election was about to dominate TV. For Merson, that was fine. He flew from Maryland to Las Vegas 3 days before the final table to settle in at the Rio, where the players were given suites. Instead of burying himself in non-stop prep, he leaned into relaxation. He hit the pool, shared meals with friends and family, and did his best to stay calm while the biggest moment of his career loomed. The opening day of the 2012 WSOP main event final table was pure chaos. ESPN crews hustled to keep the broadcast running smoothly. Fans packed the Rio buzzing with excitement, and 9 players suddenly found themselves under the brightest spotlight in poker. Jesse Sylvia came in as the chip leader, but one costly slip handed the momentum to Greg Merson. From there, he caught fire, busting Hungary's Andres Karoknai in 6th with Ace-King against King-Queen. One by one, players dropped, and after 7 exhausting hours, just 3 remained. Merson on top with 88.4 million chips, Sylvia close behind with 62.8 million, and Jake Balsiger holding 46.9 million. But anyone who thought the finish line was close was in for a rude awakening. What followed was an endurance marathon that tested not just skill, but sheer willpower. The trio, Merson, Sylvia, and Balsiger, traded blows deep into the night as the world watched live on ESPN. Hands stretched on for hours. Tension hung so thick that even veteran poker fans looked drained. By 5 a.m., Balsiger was hanging on by a thread, down to his final chips. Holding Queen 10 of diamonds, he shoved all in, hoping to stay alive. Merson called with King Queen, a stronger hand that had him dominated. The flop came 6, 6, 6, eye-catching, but no help. A jack on the turn, a 5 on the river, and that was it. Balsiger was out in 3rd, taking home $3.8 million. The stage was set. Greg Merson versus Jesse Sylvia, heads up for the title. What followed was an epic battle that spanned a record-breaking 399 hands, smashing the previous mark by 35. Chip stacks swung back and forth like a pendulum. Merson had the lead, lost it, regained it, and suffered more than his share of bad beats. But after 12 punishing hours, the final hand arrived. Merson pushed the pressure right back on Sylvia, who made his stand with Queen Jack. Merson flipped over King 5. The board ran out clean, no pairs, no surprises, and Merson's King High held strong. Just like that, at only 24 years old, Greg Merson was crowned the 2012 World Series of Poker main event champion. But this wasn't just another win. He became the first player since 2001 to snag a bracelet earlier in the summer and then take down the main event in the same year. His diamond-studded bracelet sparkled under the lights, alongside $8.53 million and the most coveted title in poker. But there was one last twist to his story. Phil Hellmuth, already riding high with his 12th WSOP bracelet and another from the WSOPE main event, seemed a lock for Player of the Year. The only person who could possibly dethrone him was Greg Merson. And incredibly, that's exactly what happened. By winning the main event, Merson claimed not only his second bracelet of the summer and $8.5 million, but also the WSOP Player of the Year title. Now, even after winning the main event, Greg Merson wasn't exactly living on easy street. He dove straight back into the deep end of high-stakes poker, playing nosebleed cash games in Macau at $600 per thousand, $200, no limit, and battling online at $200 per $400, no limit. The swings were brutal. $500,000 up or down in a single trip, 6-figure weeks online. Looking back, even Merson admitted it wasn't sustainable. He said he couldn't believe he once played that big, realizing those wild ups and downs were no way to live. Still, he kept chasing the game he loved. In 2014, he picked up some solid scores. 31st at the WPTLA Poker Classic for over $31,000, a 15th place finish at the WSOPC National Championship for another $21,000, and several cashes during the WSOP Summer Grind. By June, he had strung together deep runs, including 13th in a $5,000 six-handed event. In a Facebook post, he revealed he cleared just over $100,000 that summer, mostly from online sessions, though he lost nearly $150,000 backing other players. After tallying everything, he was down about $128,900, but he shrugged it off, pointing out that after his dream summers in 2012 and 2013, there wasn't much to complain about. 2 years later, he showed he could still hold his own, finishing 13th in the same $5,000 event and pocketing $88,020. After that, his live tournament appearances became less frequent. He popped up at the 2019 WSOP, and in 2022, he grabbed third place in a WSOP Online $5,300 high roller, earning over $96,000. Still, no matter what came after, it was that unforgettable run in 2012, the year he rose from the chaos of addiction to become poker's ultimate champion, that secured his place in the game's history.